This is TWiT.
I want Paul to say what he thinks about
Explain
this,
to me.
because go for this.
Microsoft is ending support for Android apps on Chrome OS.
Right. Now, there's a couple of weird things going on here. So one is that if you think about the way it works today, there is a complexity to having two different versions of everything on Chrome OS, right? There are the web apps like Outlook.com and then Office or Word for Web or Excel for Web or whatever. And then they have the Android apps. There's also that kind of licensing issue. If you're a Microsoft 365 customer, they have that screen size thing, right? Where if it's a small, I think it's like 8 inches or smaller, whatever the figure is, these things, you get all the features for free. But if the screen is bigger than that, which it would be on almost, I would say actually every single Chrome OS device, Chromebook, certainly, you're supposed to have a paid Microsoft 365 subscription. So there's that aspect to it. These things are not supersets of each other, right? So the web versions of these apps have some features that the mobile apps don't have, and vice versa. And so depending on your needs, you might choose one or the other. You might choose the Word Android app, but the Excel web app, or it gets really confusing. So what they're going to do is end the confusion in a strange way by killing one of those things. They're not going to allow users on Chrome OS devices, including Chromebooks, to install and use the Android versions of the Office apps, including Outlook, Word, Excel, PowerPoint, et cetera, et cetera. They're going to force them essentially to use the web apps. Now, there's some problems there. The web apps in some ways are not as sophisticated. One of the things they don't do is support offline use, for example, which the native Android apps do. Now, the hope is that over time, these apps get more sophisticated. There have been some rumblings about PWA support, which could include offline support, et cetera. We know that there's a new version of Outlook, the One Outlook client coming. The web interfaces would be part of that. So just because it was so complex, I sort of support this in a general way, but that assumes that they improve the web apps so that some of those missing features are available.
But the Android apps, the Office Android apps don't go away in general. Like on other platforms, they continue to exist, right?
Yeah, right.
Right.
Yeah, right.
You know what I mean? So they're still supporting two versions. They just aren't doing it on Chromebooks, right?
Yes. And you have to wonder what was the impetus for this, right? And I don't think it was technical. I think it was licensing related. And it's possible, a Chrome OS device kind of publishes information about the system to Android apps, so it seems like an Android system, and maybe it's harder to prove the size of the display. Although I would argue if you're running on Chrome OS, it's a licensable moment, as I call it, and you would have to pay for Microsoft 365 to get all the functionality, including the ability to write, create documents and save them. So I don't know. I mean, we'll see. This just happened. I just found out about this today. It's not like Microsoft came out with a big post about it. People have just been noticing on Chromebooks when they go to the apps, it actually throws up a dialogue saying, "Hey, by the way, this is going away."
I think it kind of makes sense. I think it's almost like saying, we want to give you one experience and the best experience. I mean, are the apps in any respect better than the web apps?
Yes, I think they are. But see, that's the problem. If you could create a matrix of features, and sometimes the web app will be better, and sometimes the mobile app will be better.
I mean, really, a Chromebook is about using Chrome to access web apps.
Right.
Yeah.
But of course, it was Google that said we're going to put the Android store on here, and
But that's kind of like a last mile thing to me. I feel like the Android app should be a fallback when there is no native web app, because the native web apps will be designed for those big screens and that kind of thing.
Yeah. So I can see they might have said internally, well, we want them to have the best experience. And it's confusing to have two different versions on a Chromebook. Right. So let's just say this is the Chromebook version, is the web app.
There's nothing that Microsoft has published, to my knowledge, that explains the why of this. I can only speculate. But yeah.
You know what I wonder about the why? You know how Microsoft and Google's handshake contract has expired now, and it's kind of a war again between these two?
Could be.
This could be like, hey, guys, right? We want you to do this. Okay.
Yeah.
Could be. Also,
Right.
Captain Jack in the Discord says, wasn't Microsoft trying to get Office to be an Electron PWA at some point so everything's cross-platform? That we heard that a long time ago, and we've heard nothing about that since.
That's not a good choice. That's not a performant choice. I don't think
we don't even know what they're doing there with the future of
When they
Office.
have other choices.
I don't feel like
they have other cross-platform.
There is some interesting, remember when Microsoft updated the extensibility features in Office, I want to say maybe 2 years ago, somewhere within 2 years, certainly. The new the technology they're now using for that is all web-based, right? And part of the rationale for that is, say you had let's make up something stupid, like a spell checking, plugin or something for Microsoft Word. You could now create one extension that would work in Word on Windows, on the Mac, and on the web, right? Because it's a web-based technology. That doesn't mean they're going to redo the entire apps as web apps, although obviously there are web versions. But I do feel like doesn't it kind of seem like for desktop that the world is drifting toward the web? It's moving slowly, but it seems like this is the natural direction.
I know. Like, the combined Office app that's Word, very just basic features, Word, Excel, PowerPoint. I use that much more than I use any of the individual discrete apps. But my needs are very simple too. But I love that app. I love the combined one. So.
I've been experimenting with web browsers, as Leo knows, and I have a new recommendation.
Oh, crap.
But no, I'm just kidding. One of the things I've been looking at, and this would benefit Chrome users, and I've been using this I don't use this full time, but I do use it, is there's an Office extension for Chrome and other Chromium browsers that puts a little Office icon up in the toolbar, and it gives you quick links to all the main apps on the web, but it also gives you that recent list, right, with your recent documents. And it's one of the problems of Chromebook, if you're in the Microsoft ecosystem, is you don't have any way to sync OneDrive to the file system. There is a way to access OneDrive from the file system, but it's just an online view. And, this, I feel like, and we've talked about this sometimes, Microsoft is putting a recent documents view in a lot of different things. That Office app is one example. But I think for a lot of people, that's what they need. I want to see the last 5 documents I was working on because I want to edit one of those documents, and there it is. And I don't have to worry about file systems and, native apps and stuff like that. You can just, you can just do it right from the browser.
Yeah, it makes a lot of sense.